Okay, good morning grade 8s. So today we're going to be looking at time zones and how do we calculate time difference between two different locations and how can we convert time like that. Alright, so before we even begin looking at the notes here and creating our own notes, let's actually go to Google Earth, which we're looking at over here. So Google Earth is a wonderful app. You can get it for free. It's very similar to Google Maps, but it has this cool feature where you can zoom out and you can actually see the world. I've turned on the lines of latitude and longitude because that's very important for us today as we look at our time zones. So one of the first things we need to remember is that there are lines of longitude, which is these vertical lines going up, and we can see that this one, this thick one in the middle of the screen right now is the prime meridian, or the Greenwich meridian, and then the one that's going horizontal, that is the equator. So the Greenwich meridian, this one going down the middle, that is our 0 degrees of longitude, all right? Longitude going vertical, so it's our 0 degrees. And then as we move east, we are going ahead in time, okay? And then if we go back to the Greenwich meridian or the prime meridian, as we move west, we're going backwards in time. Not time travel, but just we're going back in time zones. So we can see that right now we're looking at America. So America's all the way west, meaning that as we travel east, we're going forward in time. So here in South Africa, we are actually ahead in time. So where I am right now, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which means it's actually going to be early morning in America. Likewise, while it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon here, as we move eastward, in Asia, it's going to be nighttime, and Australia as well is going to be nighttime. Okay, so that's just a nice visualization of you. For you. I encourage you to download Google Maps and explore. There's all sorts of lovely features for you to explore and understand the world a bit better. But as we go back here, let us have a look at what's going on. So as I was saying, here is the 0. Okay, so this is 0 degrees of longitude, and as we move east, we're going forward in time, and as we move west, it's back in time. Okay, so that's important. So let's make some notes about it. So we're going to say here that as we move east, we plus. And as we move west, we minus. Okay. So now you can see, and I'm actually going to zoom in here, you can see how we have all of these time zones. So here it's saying 0, and then we go -1, -2, -3, -4, and all the way to -12 or -11. So that's showing us that that's back 1 hour, back 2 hours, and likewise if we're going here forward hours. But you must remember that every 1 hour is represented by a certain number of degrees of longitude. So that's a very important thing. Before we can get to actually converting anything with time zones, we need to understand the longitude. So we're going to write a little formula here that we must always remember, and that is that there are 360 degrees of longitude in the world, meaning there are 360 vertical lines going all around the world. But to calculate how many degrees of longitude represent how many hours, or 1 hour, we need to divide 360 by the number of hours in a day. And we all know that there are 24 hours in the day. So if we take 360 degrees divided by 24 hours, we are going to get 15 degrees of longitude per hour. So that's something I want you to actually, in your notes, in your books, you must write down, because that's such an important number, and you can even highlight it. That there is 15 degrees per hour. That's an important thing for us to remember. Okay. So that's where we start off. We know that as we move east, we must plus, and as we move west, we must minus. I forgot to put the minus there. Okay, so west we minus, east we plus. And there's really two steps that you need to worry about when doing this section. First step, step 1, is we calculate the time difference. We calculate the time difference. Now you'll notice that my handwriting isn't great. These aren't the neatest of notes. I am not great on iPads. So I still encourage you to go back and make your own notes. Do everything that we're doing here, make your own notes, make sure they're neat and tidy, and you're using rulers and highlighters and the whole shebang, because that will really help you learn this material, not just watching this video, but also making your own notes. So step 1 is we calculate the time difference. And then after that, we solve for time. We solve for time. So let's see what that might look like in practice. And I'm going to do quite a few examples because I want us to be able to see the different scenarios. So let's do example 1. So in example 1, we've got city A, which is at 30 degrees east, and it is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we've got city B, which is 45 degrees east. What time is it in city B? Well, we've already told ourselves that there's 15 degrees per hour. So we need to see what is the difference between these two things. So I've kept example 1 quite simple. So let's go back. We're going to do step 1 and we're going to calculate the difference. So the difference between 45 and 30, how do we calculate that? Well, we say 45 minus 30. And what you always need to do here is actually put that over 15. So we're going to say 45 minus 30 divided by 15, because we are saying it's 15 degrees per hour, so we need to divide it by 15 degrees to see how many hours this is. So that's going to equal 15 over 15. 45 minus 30 is 15. So then we know that 15 over 15 is just going to equal 1. So that's step 1 that we've just done. We've calculated the time difference, so we can see that there is a 1 hour time difference between 30 and 45 degrees east. So now step 2 is we need to solve for the time. So what we're going to do here is we're going to plus or minus 1 our answer to the original time. So this is where my grade 8s always get confused. What do we do? Do we plus or do we minus? Well, let's go back to our map at the top here in our notes. And remember that when we're moving east, we plus, and when we're moving west, we minus. So right now we're at 30 degrees east, and then we are going 45 degrees east, meaning that we are at 30 degrees east and we are moving 45 degrees east. So we are moving in an eastward direction, which means we plus. So then we say, well, it is 2 o'clock in city A, and we plus 1 hour, meaning it is now 15 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that is our answer. Okay. So, I hope that makes sense. I kept it simple. In the same way, if it was actually 15 degrees east, city B, if we had said 15 degrees east, that means we were moving west, which means we would have to minus, which means it would be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So, let's do another example now. So example 2. So each time I'm going to get a little bit harder. Please, and make sure you're writing this into your books or you're making notes so that you understand each example before we move on to the next one. So let's say in city A, it is 30 degrees east, and it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But at city B, it is 30 degrees west. What time is it in city A? Well, again, step 1 is we need to calculate the time difference. So here we are going to say 30 plus 30 divided by 15. And why plus? Because if we go here, we've got 30 degrees west and 30 degrees east. So always try and imagine it like a number line, where everything west is in the negatives and everything east is in the positives. So we've got 30 to the west of 0 and 30 to the east of 0. So we've got 30 this side, 30 this side. We need to plus them together. So that's going to equal 60 divided by 15, which is going to equal a time difference of 4 hours. Okay, so now we've calculated our time difference. So now we need to do the next thing, which is solve for time. So we know there is a 4-hour time difference from 4 o'clock in city A. But again, are we moving forward in time or are we moving backward in time? Well, right now in city A we're in 30 degrees east, meaning that as we go to 30 degree west, we have actually moved in a westerly direction. And remember, as we move west, we minus. So we must then minus. So we say it is 4 o'clock and we are minusing 4 hours. Therefore, it is going to be 12. Okay? So it's going to be midday in the afternoon, and that is our final answer. Okay, so let's do a few more examples just as we get the hang of this. So let's say example 3. Let's say that in city A, it is 60 degrees west, and it is 8 o'clock at night on a Monday. You'll see why that's relevant shortly. But in city B, it is 120 degrees east. What time is it in city B? Well, of course, we need to start with our step 1 and calculate the time difference. So, if we then need to say it's 60 degrees west plus 120 degrees east divided by 15. So that's the same thing as saying 180 divided by 15, which, if we get our answer, is going to be 12. So we know that there is a 12-hour difference. So now we need to do step 2 and solve for time. So we're going to say it is 8 o'clock at night plus 12, which is going to give us 32. But now we're at a bit of a weird juncture. 32 is not a time. It cannot be 32 o'clock. It can't be 3200 hours. So what do we do once we go over 24? Well, this means we've gone into the next day. So while we knew we started at 8 o'clock on Monday, we're now going into the next day. So we're going to take 32 and we're going to minus 24. It's always going to be minus 24 in this case because we're minusing the previous day. We need to see what hours we're left off with. And that means we're going to be left with 8 in the morning on Tuesday. So in your answers, always try and give the day as well, if it's relevant, because this then shows the marker or shows the person that you're working out for that you've moved days, that you've gone either forward in time or back in time. Okay, so that's really time zones in a nutshell. But just remember, there's a few things you need to do. Always try and answer in 100 hours. So instead of 8 p.m., say 100 hours. Okay, if you really want to write the other way, then you must at least say 8 p.m. Okay, just to show the marker what we're talking about, because if you only answer 8, then that means 8 a.m. So you must have the p.m. to show what you're talking about. So I encourage you to redo these notes at the top here. You can pause the screen, make some color, highlight the important things like 15 degrees per hour. And then what I want you to do is redo these examples by yourself. See if you can do them by yourself. If not, come back and watch again. Okay, and then for any Greenside High students, the first student every year to like and subscribe and comment on this video that they love time zones will get a 50 Rand tuck shop voucher. But you must send a screenshot of the like and subscribe and your comment and send it to me on Teams for you to. And the first one to do that each year will get their tuck shop voucher. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments so I can explain further.